All right, settle in because we're not just telling a story here. We're pulling back the curtain on a phenomenon, a force of nature named Michael Kelland John Hutchence. This isn't your average biography. This is a deep dive into the electric, often chaotic, and ultimately heart-wrenching journey of the man who wasn't just the lead singer of INXS. He was the very essence of rock and roll rebellion, sensuality, and raw charisma. We're going to explore the dazzling highs, the creative fires that burned within him, and the dark shadows that eventually, tragically, engulfed his brilliant light. Forget the sound bites and the headlines. Prepare for a narrative that aims to capture the full, complex, and utterly compelling spirit of a legend. Born into the vibrant energy of Crow's Nest, Sydney, on January 22, 1960, Michael Hutchence was, from the very beginning, a child of movement and change. His early life was a nomadic dance, following his entrepreneur father, Kelland, and makeup artist mother, Patricia Glassop, from the bustling streets of Brisbane to the exotic allure of Hong Kong. Imagine a young Michael, bright-eyed and brimming with potential, initially drawn to the precise discipline of swimming. He was, by all accounts, a promising athlete, but a severe arm injury rerouted his trajectory. Yet from that very setback, a new, more profound passion emerged: the captivating world of poetry and performance. His earliest foray into the limelight, a local toy store commercial, a small but significant step that hinted at the magnetic stage presence that would later mesmerize millions across the globe. He honed his craft during his teenage years at King George V School in Hong Kong, absorbing influences and refining his nascent artistic sensibilities. The family's return to Sydney in 1972 proved to be a pivotal juncture. It was at Davidson High School that fate intervened, introducing Michael to Andrew Ferris. This meeting wasn't just a friendship, it was the spark that would ignite a musical revolution. The two quickly bonded over a shared love for music, spending countless hours jamming in the Ferris family garage with the Andrews brothers, Tim and John. This raw, unbridled creative energy coalesced into their first musical endeavor, a band called Dr. Dolphin, with schoolmates Kent Kearney and Neil Sanders, and later bassist Gary Beers and drummer Jeff Kennelly. They were a burgeoning force. Michael's parents' separation when he was 15 added another layer of complexity to his formative years, leading to a brief stint in California with his mother and half-sister Tina before he returned to Sydney. But the true genesis of their legend came in 1977. The Ferris Brothers Band was officially born, featuring Andrew on keyboards, Tim on lead guitar, John on drums, Michael on lead vocals, Gary Beers on bass, and Kirk Pengilly on guitar and saxophone. Their very first gig on August 16, 1977, at a venue in Whale Beach, was a raw, unpolished explosion of talent. They briefly flirted with the name The Vegetables, even performing a song titled We Are the Vegetables. 10 months later, armed with a powerful demo, they returned to Sydney, and in 1979, a name change solidified their identity: INXS. The transformation was complete. The initial performance under the INXS moniker took place on September 1st at the Ocean View Hotel in Toukley, a moment that marked the dawn of an era. The early 1980s saw INXS relentlessly carving out their space in the global music landscape. May 1980 brought their debut single, Simple Simon, We Are the Vegetables, followed by their self-titled album in October. Hutchence, with his smoldering gaze and impossibly lithe movements, quickly emerged as the band's magnetic focal point. He wasn't just a singer, he was a storyteller, a provocateur, and the visual embodiment of their sound. His collaborative songwriting partnership with Andrew Ferris was the beating heart of INXS, crafting the majority of the band's lyrical and melodic output. Their second album, Underneath the Colors, was famously written in a whirlwind of creative intensity, a process Hutchence himself credited with forcing a laser-like focus that ultimately benefited their sound. But Michael's artistic ambition extended beyond the confines of INXS. His restless spirit yearned for independent expression. In 1982, he embarked on his solo journey, recording Speed Kills for the Freedom soundtrack, marking his official debut as a solo artist. The silver screen beckoned next, drawing him into the world of acting. In 1986, he took on the lead role of Sam in the acclaimed Australian film Dogs in Space, a role that showcased his raw, brooding intensity and allowed him to contribute 4 tracks to the soundtrack. This wasn't merely a side gig. It was an exploration of another facet of his creative soul. His acting career continued to flourish with his portrayal of the 19th century romantic poet Percy Shelley in the 1990 film Frankenstein Unbound. These cinematic endeavors were crucial in demonstrating that Hutchence was not just a rock star, but a multi-talented artist determined to leave his mark across various mediums. The world truly opened up for INXS in October 1987 with the release of Kick. This album wasn't just a collection of songs, it was a cultural phenomenon that cemented their status as global rock titans. Kick exploded onto charts worldwide, hitting number 1 in Australia, climbing to number 3 on the US Billboard 200, landing at number 9 in the UK, and even making a significant splash at number 15 in Austria. It achieved a staggering 6 times platinum certification and spawned 4 US top 10 singles, including the undeniable anthem Need You Tonight, which soared to the very top of the US Billboard singles chart. Critics raved about Hutchence's performance on the track, praising his sultry purr and undulating, alluring sensuality, a vocal delivery that dripped with an almost primal magnetism. The accompanying video for Need You Tonight Immediate wasn't merely a visual aid, it was a groundbreaking piece of art that swept the 1988 MTV Video Music Awards, taking home 5 accolades and solidifying INXS's reputation as innovators, not just in sound, but in visual storytelling. Even amidst this meteoric rise, Hutchence's creative curiosity remained insatiable. In 1989, he collaborated with Ollie Olsen on the Max Q project, a venture that allowed him to explore a darker, more experimental musical landscape. The self-titled album and its 3 singles showcased a more introspective and electronic side of Hutchence, with critics hailing it as one of the decade's most innovative dance albums. This period demonstrated his willingness to push boundaries and explore new sonic territories. The momentum carried into the 1990s with the release of X, yielding further international hits like Suicide Blonde and Disappear. The genesis of Suicide Blonde became an instant legend, inspired by Hutchence's then-girlfriend Kylie Minogue and her platinum blonde wig in The Delinquents. His effortless, cool, and captivating stage persona earned him the Best International Male Artist Award at the 1991 Brit Awards, with INXS simultaneously claiming the Best Group honor. The band's continued success culminated with Welcome to Wherever You Are in 1992, an album that not only received critical acclaim but also soared to number 1 in the UK. The mid-1990s, however, brought a shift in the band's commercial trajectory. Full Moon, Dirty Hearts, 1994, saw a decline in commercial success, particularly in the crucial American market. The relentless touring and creative output had taken their toll, prompting the band to take a much-needed break. Yet even in this quieter period, Michael Hutchence remained a public figure, his private life often making headlines, fueled by his string of high-profile relationships. He began work on a self-titled solo album in 1995, a deeply personal project that he would continue to pour his heart into until just days before his death. The final INXS album featuring Hutchence, Elegantly Wasted, was released in 1996, a poignant closing chapter to an iconic collaboration. Michael Hutchence's artistry transcended the mere act of singing. He was a master performer, a vocal chameleon. Described as a baritone, his vocal range was astonishing, stretching from a deep resonant B1 bass to a soaring F-sharp 5-high tenor. Billboard characterized him as mesmerizing, with a seductive purr and fluid magnetic stage demeanor. Paul Donahue of ABC Australia eloquently articulated his vocal prowess, stating that Hutchence possessed an extraordinary voice, melancholic, sensual, and powerfully dynamic, able to shift with ease from fragile to confident. Beyond his vocal technicality, he was an undeniable force on stage. He was the archetypal rock showman, exuding an overtly sexual macho cool with his flowing locks and lithe and exuberant stage movements. Biographer Toby Creswell affirmed his status, asserting that Hutchence was one of the greatest performers. He articulated music with a dynamism few others could. He truly lived and loved every moment, an explosion of sexual energy. This raw, untamed stage presence, combined with his enigmatic offstage persona, earned him the tabloid moniker Wild Man of Rock, fueled by his highly publicized public brawls and public drug use. His relationships with a constellation of famous women, including Kylie Minogue, Belinda Carlisle, Helena Christensen, and Kim Wilson, only intensified the public's fascination with his every move. Beneath the dazzling surface of fame and endless adoration, a deeply tragic and insidious shift was taking place within Michael Hutchence. In August 1992, while cycling with then-girlfriend Helena Christensen in Copenhagen, a seemingly innocuous altercation with a taxi driver turned devastating. Hutchence was violently assaulted, causing him to fall backward and strike his head on the pavement, resulting in a fractured skull. What followed was a critical oversight. Instead of seeking immediate medical attention, he delayed, waiting several days before consulting a doctor. This delay proved catastrophic, leaving him with permanent brain damage. The physical consequences were profound. He lost almost his entire sense of smell and suffered a significant impairment of his sense of taste. But the more insidious and heartbreaking effects were on his personality. The injury triggered periods of severe depression and a marked increase in aggressive behavior, a stark contrast to his previously charming and often introverted nature. Gary Beers, his bandmate, recounted a harrowing incident during the recording of Full Moon Dirty Hearts in 1993, where Hutchence threatened him with a knife. Beers further revealed that during that 6-week period, Hutchence threatened or physically confronted nearly every member of the band, a chilling testament to the profound internal struggle he was experiencing. The man who once embodied effortless cool was now battling an invisible enemy that warped his very essence. The mid-1990s brought another intense chapter in his personal life, his highly publicized relationship with Welsh television presenter Paula Yates. They had first met in 1985, but their affair exploded into the public consciousness after a provocative 1994 interview on Yates's show, The Big Breakfast. At the time, Yates was still married to Bob Geldof, the acclaimed musician and Live Aid organizer. The revelation shattered Yates's marriage, igniting a public, often vitriolic custody battle over her 3 daughters with Geldof. Amidst this storm, on July 22, 1996, Yates gave birth to their daughter, Heavenly Hirani Tiger Lily, a beacon of hope and love in an increasingly turbulent existence. But the shadows continued to lengthen. In September 1996, Yates and Hutchence faced legal trouble when they were arrested on suspicion of drug possession after a nanny discovered a small quantity of opium under their bed. Though the charges were eventually dropped due to insufficient evidence, the tragic irony that would follow is almost unbearable. On September 17, 2000, Paula Yates herself would die from an accidental heroin overdose discovered by a then 4-year-old Tiger Lily. In an act of profound compassion, Bob Geldof later adopted Tiger Lily, ensuring she would grow up alongside her 3 half-sisters, keeping her within the family circle amidst immense loss. The final devastating chapter of Michael Hutchence's life unfolded on November 22, 1997. He was found deceased in room 524 of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Double Bay, Sydney, at the tragically young age of 37. The official cause of death was suicide by hanging. The events leading up to this heartbreaking discovery paint a picture of escalating desperation and profound emotional distress. Hutchence and INXS had just embarked on a world tour to support Elegantly Wasted. Paula Yates had planned to visit him in Australia with their daughter, Tiger Lily, and her 3 other children. However, a legal intervention by Bob Geldof prevented this visit, escalating the tension and heartbreak. Yates later recounted to the police that she had informed Hutchence that the custody hearing for Geldof's daughters had been postponed until December 17th. This meant she would be unable to bring the children to Australia as planned. According to Yates, Hutchence was scared and couldn't take any more minutes of not seeing his daughter. He was extremely upset and said, "I don't know how I am going to live without seeing Tiger." In a desperate plea, he told her he would call Geldof to let the girls come to Australia. Geldof corroborated receiving a call from Hutchence, describing the conversation as harassing, abusive, and threatening. The sound of a man shouting and swearing around 5 a.m. was also reported by the occupant of the adjacent hotel room. At 9:54 a.m. on November 22nd, Hutchence spoke with his ex-girlfriend, Michelle Bennett. She described him as crying, sounding deeply upset, and urgently needing to see her. Bennett arrived at his hotel room around 10:40 a.m. but received no response. His body was discovered by a hotel maid at 11:50 a.m. The police report provided chilling details. Hutchence was found in a kneeling position facing the door. He had used his snakeskin belt to tie a knot to the automatic door closure at the top of the door and had hunched forward into the loop so that the buckle was broken. On February 6, 1998, after a thorough autopsy and investigation, New South Wales State Coroner Derek Hand presented his findings. The report unequivocally concluded that Hutchence's death was a suicide, a result of him being in a state of depression and under the influence of alcohol and various drugs. The blood analysis report for Hutchence indicated the presence of alcohol, cocaine, Prozac, and prescription drugs. Hand carefully considered and ultimately dismissed any suggestions of accidental death based on the overwhelming evidence. However, the narrative around his death remained complex and contested. In a 1999 interview, Paula Yates controversially claimed that Hutchence's death might have been the result of autoerotic asphyxiation, a statement that directly contradicted her earlier testimonies to both the police and the coroner, adding another layer of unresolved questions to his tragic end. The world mourned the loss of a vibrant talent at his funeral on November the 27th, 1997, held at St. Andrew's Cathedral in Sydney. Approximately 600 people attended. a gathering that underscored the breadth of his impact. Among the grieving were his family, his beloved INXS bandmates, Paula Yates and their daughter, his musical hero Tom Jones, and former loves Kylie Minogue and Helena Christensen, all united in sorrow. The service was broadcast live across Australia, allowing millions to share in the collective grief. As INXS members and his brother Rhett solemnly carried his coffin from the cathedral, the haunting strains of Never Tear Us Apart played, a profound and fitting elegy for a life inextricably linked to music. Nick Cave, a close friend and fellow artist, performed his 1997 song, Into My Arms, a deeply personal moment for which he requested the television cameras be turned off, honoring the intimacy of the tribute. In a touching display of his family's enduring compassion, Michael's parents requested that instead of sending flowers, mourners consider making donations to UNICEF and the Starlight Foundation. His cremation followed, and in a further demonstration of the complexities of his personal life, his ashes were divided into 3 parts, for his parents, his siblings, and for Yates and their daughter, after a period of contention between his family and Yates. His mother's portion found its final resting place at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills, California. His father scattered his share into Sydney Harbor near Rose Bay on what would have been Michael's 38th birthday, January 22, 1998, with a headstone later placed at Northern Suburbs Memorial Gardens in North Ryde, Sydney. Poignantly, Paula Yates kept her portion of his ashes in a pillow she used for sleeping, a testament to her profound if tumultuous connection to him. The legacy of Michael Hutchence continues to reverberate through the music world and beyond, a testament to his enduring impact. Though INXS continued to record and perform until 2012, the vibrant, irreplaceable spark that was Hutchence remained absent. By 2018, INXS had sold over 50 million records worldwide, a monumental achievement that firmly cemented their place in rock history, largely propelled by the inimitable force of their frontman. His self-titled solo album, Michael Hutchence, released posthumously in October 1999, offered a final intimate glimpse into his individual artistic vision. He had begun working on the album in 1995 and was still refining it just 3 days before his passing. The album features collaborations that crossed musical boundaries, including the haunting track Slide Away, a duet with U2's Bono, whose vocals were added after Hutchence's death, a poignant conversation between friends separated by an ultimate chasm. Tragically, despite estimations of his estate ranging from $10 million to $20 million, the bulk of his legacy has reportedly dwindled to almost nothing, consumed by legal fees and various other expenditures. However, his story continues to intrigue and inspire, ensuring his place in cultural memory. Michael Hutchence, The Last Rock Star, a documentary offering an intimate portrait of his life, aired on Australia's 7 network in 2017. In 2019, Mystify. Michael Hutchence, another critically acclaimed documentary directed by Richard Lowenstein, delved even deeper, meticulously piecing together his life through rare archival footage, personal accounts, and raw, unflinching honesty, further illuminating the complexities of his genius and his struggles. Michael Hutchence's influence extends far beyond his own discography. His impact is evident in the music and tributes of countless artists. In 1997, Duran Duran penned the heartfelt "Michael, You've Got a Lot to Answer For." Nick Cave's performance of Into My Arms at his funeral was a deeply moving personal farewell. Terry Nunn of Berlin and Billy Corgan collaborated on Sacred and Profane for Berlin's 2000 album, with none crediting Hutchence as a major influence on her as a performer. Perhaps one of the most widely recognized musical tributes came from his close friend, Bono of U2. Bono wrote "Stuck in a Moment You Can't Get Out Of" for U2's 2000 album, describing it as a row with suicide, expressing his deep regret that he didn't have that crucial conversation with Michael when he was alive. In a powerful and emotional moment on November 23, 2019, U2 honored Hutchence in Sydney during their Joshua Tree tour, a testament to his enduring presence in their hearts and in the collective consciousness of rock music. His contributions to music have been consistently recognized with prestigious awards and accolades. He was deservedly inducted into the Australian Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2016, a tribute to his prolific and profound songwriting. At the 1984 Countdown Australian Music Awards, he won Best Songwriter alongside Andrew Ferris and was recognized as the most popular male artist, cementing his status as a dual threat, a gifted lyricist and an irresistible frontman. Even years after his passing, his creative fingerprint continues to influence. His involvement in Dua Lipa's Break My Heart, 2021, as a co-writer due to its interpolation of INXS's Need You Tonight, earned him an APRA award, proving his enduring relevance across generations. His posthumous discography includes his self-titled solo album, 1999, and Mystify, a musical journey with Michael Hutchence, 2019, offering further insight into his multifaceted talent. His individual singles such as Speed Kills, 1982, Rooms for the Memory, 1987, A Straight Line, 1999, Friction, 2015, and Spill the Wine, 2019, continue to resonate with fans. Beyond his own releases, his voice and songwriting enriched numerous other projects, appearing on soundtracks for films like Freedom, Dogs in Space, symphonic music of the Rolling Stones, It's Now or Never, the tribute to Elvis, Batman Forever, Barbed Wire, One Voice, the songs of Chage and Aska, and the collaborative album No Talking, Just Head. In the vast constellation of rock stars, Michael Hutchence shines with a unique and unforgettable brilliance. His life was a dazzling performance marked by electrifying talent, boundless charisma, and a relentless pursuit of artistic expression. But it was also a deeply human story, touched by profound love, devastating loss, and unseen battles. His legacy isn't just in the millions of records sold or the awards won. It's in the enduring power of his voice, the timeless allure of his stage presence, and the captivating, often heartbreaking narrative of a true original. He was a supernova, and though his light was extinguished too soon, its echoes continue to illuminate the world, leaving us to wonder about the brilliance that could have been and to appreciate the extraordinary gift he left behind.